Hey guys, welcome back to 3H Podcast. I think this is the fourth episode now we've been to. Knocking them out pretty good now.
Fourth episode.
Yep. So far, we really enjoyed it. I've looked forward to coming in here and doing these. We've covered quite a bit of stuff in a short amount of time already, but today we really wanted to come talk to you about super popular, what we do at the shop all the time, ARs. Everything ARs, from custom-built ARs to complete ARs to AR upgrades and accessories. So this is kind of Chase's wheelhouse right here. Not that anything gun related is not in his wheelhouse, but this is, I would say, it's probably your bread and butter, don't you think?
Well, that's where it all started. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, that's where the business really. I mean, from day one, the first thing I did was build ARs for my buddies. You know what I mean? From that going to everything that it is now. Yeah, I mean, I'd say so. You know, kind of learned a little bit from military and then took off from there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, build. It's kind of crazy to think building custom ARs segued into people wanting them looking different, segued into you learning the cerakote, and segued into look where we're at now. I mean,
Yep.
Painting, cerakoting, hydro dipping guns is, I mean, even though we do a lot at the shop, that's probably number one, big thing we do. To think that started with building custom ARs, that's pretty cool. Think about that.
Well, it really started with my personal addiction. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
I wanted to have cool guns, and I was too poor to afford to pay somebody else to do it. So
Yeah.
I was like, man, how about I just learn to do this myself?
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
So.
Yeah, necessity, man. And,
Yep.
when you have the know-how and the knowledge and skills to take the gun apart and able to sandblast it and prep it, get it ready yourself, why not learn, Look what it's turned into, man. Number one cerakoter in the region right now, man. So in the state, just trying to keep climbing our way up.
Yep.
So I've experienced this early on, a long time ago, when I first started getting into ARs and, wanting to build an AR instead of just buy a complete AR. And this is something that I have probably noticed with guys that come to me asking now about ARs. It seems a little overwhelming to people at times when they start entering the AR market and they're deciding whether, hey, am I going to go buy a complete built AR? May not be exactly what I want, but it's already ready to go on the shelf, versus have someone, and I'm sure there's a lot of guys building ARs, on the side, kind of like you were around here. But as far as gun shops go, you can correct me, but we're about one of the only games in town building custom ARs for people out the door. Are you? Don't you think?
Yeah, we're definitely the only ones that's carrying the parts in stock.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I mean, we carry strip lowers, stripped uppers, a couple different options on handrails. We got the B5 custom grips now that come with, your multicam, your M81, black multicam, all that stuff. Carry all the mag pull accessories as much as we can. And Strike Industries has been really big for us. I'm a super big fan of Strike Industries. We've been using their internal parts for a while now. Anything from their buffer tubes to their lower parts kits. I mean, everything by them has just been phenomenal. And even their handrails, we started carrying a few of their handrails because they're really good for the money too.
A couple of their mags, new mags.
Yeah,
They're
new
pretty
mags.
sick.
I'm telling you, for a company that has innovated as much as they have and come out with so much cool stuff, they've really done a good job keeping the price point affordable too.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna add that too. And to be honest with you, I didn't know a whole lot ins and outs. Had heard of them, seen some parts where I wasn't as familiar with Strike before I came out to the shop. I'm really impressed with their stuff. You hit the nail on the head. But I was going to say, I think what you get in return for price is pretty good value.
Yeah,
I mean, high quality, innovative, but price point is pretty much there on par with anybody else, or sometimes below. Sometimes very reasonable.
Absolutely, man. From everything I've looked at, everything is just as good a quality, if not better. Definitely looks cooler, they're the same price or less on everything. I mean, it's just they make some really cool stuff and do a really good job.
They kind of follow the 3H model, don't be basic.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they kind of do.
Even from their takedown pins to everything is just fully custom look. It looks different. It's nothing standard about anything they do.
Yeah.
So.
But I've ran into that talking to friends or just people talking to me. Hey, I'm at the shop. Hey, I want y'all to build me an AR. And then we start talking and diving into it. It seems almost overwhelming to people sometimes, just the options. Because, I don't think people realize, how customized you can get an AR sometimes, and how simple you can build one too. It's not as overwhelming as what people make it out to be sometimes. YouTube is good, but also can just absolutely overwhelm you with information sometimes. And it's good information, but sometimes it just feels like too much. So someone comes in the shop, they say, Chase, I want to build my first custom AR. You know, I want to build my first AR. I want you to build it. What would you kind of recommend to start out with? You know, talk to me about price point, different price points, recommendations in caliber, length, size. Just let the people know, kind of just tell them what you would recommend for their first AR build and kind of walk them through the process to make it not look so overwhelming and big.
Well, the first thing I would do or typically do when somebody comes in the store is ask them what their application is for it. You know what I mean? Are you wanting something for home defense? Are you wanting something to coyote hunt with, predator hunt with? Are you just wanting something to plink at the range with? I mean, what are you wanting to do with it? You know, and that's kind of where that drives the rest of the build. You know what I mean? So, you know, like I've told people from day one, all your quality ARs, companies, manufacturers are going to be made out of 70-75 T6 aluminum, okay? It's aircraft grade, very durable, very strong, and a mil-spec lower and a mil-spec upper is mil-spec. They're all made to the same specs, out of the same material, everything. So there's 10,000 companies out there that do that. They use the same products. So whether you pick Anderson, Arrow, whatever it is, you know what I mean, it's going to be made out of the same materials and be done to the same exact specs, okay? So you can do an Anderson build, you know, at the shop for $750, which is where we used to be with Arrow, but Arrow Precision has jumped probably $200. You know, they're almost $900 now to do a full Arrow Precision build.
And when you say a full build, you're talking about out the door furniture and all.
Furniture and all. And all of ours comes with Strike Industries internal parts. So whether you pick an Anderson or Arrow lower, it's going to come with Strike Industries parts in it. And then we're going to put Magpul stocks or B5 stocks if you want to upgrade to the B5 with a custom camo. But that's going to come with a Magpul stock and a Magpul grip, all for that price.
And when we say furniture, that's what we're talking about.
Yes,
yeah, when we say
Magpul furniture, B5 furniture.
Yeah, we're talking about stocks, grips,
correct.
foregrips, stuff like that. Yeah,
correct. So that's where it's going to start, and then that can really get you pretty much any length, whether it's a 10-inch 300 blackout or a 16-inch 5.56. Now that we're talking about AR-15 builds, obviously if you go into the AR-10 stuff, you're going to jump to about $1,300 in Arrow Precision. And here's the reality of it: there's not a better AR-10 on the market than the Ruger S-FAR right now for $999.
Yeah, the Ruger S-FAR. You know, we're talking about complete rifle builds. The Ruger S-FAR has killed the AR-10 build market, and rightfully so. It's for an AR-10 that's the weight, size, and runs like an AR-15. It's sick. And so far, you know what, they've been out going on 3 years now. Very minimal problems at all. We have not had any personally. They had a few bolt issues early on, fixed it quick like Ruger always does with their stuff. And man, I mean, yeah. If I was going to buy one tomorrow, it'd be a Ruger S-FAR.
Yeah, well, they weigh 7.8 pounds versus everything else weighs 12 to 13 pounds.
For us to sit down and build a custom AR that weighed that, it would be probably $2,000 rifle, or more to get that weight shaving. Don't you think?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it'd be rough. But So talking about that build, that's going to get him any length, any caliber.
Mm-hmm. So any
popular
length,
calibers.
Yep, 300 blackout, 5.56. Obviously, is our two most popular builds. We can do 6mm arc, 350 Legend, 6.5 Grendel. I mean, pretty much anything that you can find on the internet, we can build. We use ballistic advantage barrels. They're guaranteed sub-mil weight, chrome moly vanadium, so they're very good quality. Used to everybody wanted the chrome lined barrels, which you can shoot out the chrome lining eventually. Well, these are chrome molybdenum infused. The entire barrel is rust proof now, and it's not bright shiny like a stainless. It's still got that black look to it. So they've done a really good job. That way you don't have to worry about shooting out the chrome lining of your barrels or anything like that, or wearing it out. I literally have an 11.5-inch barrel that has been ran, full auto, suppressed, everything you could think of, and been abused and never had any issues out of it, Yeah. I mean, it's just such a good product, and especially their Hansen series. That stuff is just elite as far as accuracy. You can't beat it.
Pretty, they're not like proof research weight wise,
Yeah.
but when you compare them to other barrels on the market, they're pretty streamlined and pretty light compared to other markets,
I mean,
especially that Hansen series.
Yeah, they have several different models. You know,
Yep.
they have the modern series, the
Yep.
government series, and the Hanson series. But in each one, they also have a fluted version
Yep.
or a pencil version, which is super lightweight.
Yep.
You know, and so they have a bunch of different options and
Yep.
links and everything. And I've been very impressed with their products. I
Yep.
mean, we've
there's
ran them for years.
Right, there's a
So.
million barrel makers on the market. We couldn't even sit here and begin to talk. That could be a whole podcast by itself. You know, I mean, we did everything from Knight's Armament to CAC to, proof research. But we're talking about, you're kind of talking about the build stuff that you have experience with. You've built yourself. You're running yourself. For the money put in, the value's there. You know, that's kind of, not if someone comes in specifically asking for a different brand or different barrel, we can get it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what they want. But that ballistic advantage, man, I think from my experience, what we've seen at the shop and what you've built, phenomenal products.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's, like I said, there's 10,000 products out there that we could use. This is what
makes good barrels.
But we're talking about budget friendly guns. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're trying to stay underneath that $900 mark.
Well, you can spend $900 on a barrel alone. If you start
proof
diving
research,
in, or even faxing, you get in there
faxing,
ultralight, fluted, spiral fluted, pencil, trying to shave weight, they're $800 all day long, so.
Yeah, but like I said, the biggest thing for us is we try to build stuff custom for the customer. So, like when you come into our shop, I ask you what you want to do. So you pick we have my custom builds on the wall for you to look at and hold and feel and everything else, and even have the range outside for you to take out and shoot and play with. And, we even you can use the enhanced handrails by Aero Precision, so you can tuck your suppressor inside of the handrail, or you can give it to where it butts up to the end of it. You know what I mean?
Explain to what that means to people. Enhanced handrail.
So what that means on the enhanced handrail, it's big enough around where your suppressor can fit inside of it. So you run a shorter barrel than your handrail. So you're like, say if you don't have your suppressor on, your barrel's going to be sticking inside your handrail where you can't even see it. And then you would screw your suppressor onto it, so it gives it that kind of good flush look. And that's something that's really, really popular for us. We've done a lot because that's how my guns are. That's how I prefer it. So when they see that on the wall, they really like that. And Aero does one of the only handrails that you can do that with that's that big enough around, because everything's went to the slimline, skinny stuff. And, it still looks cool, and we can get it to where it's pretty close to the end of the handrail and still give it kind of a flush look. But I really like the tucked look.
Yeah.
And it's just been really popular. Now, there is some issues you run into that. Taking your suppressor on and off can be a little bit of a hassle, and you can't shoot it without your suppressor on because you don't want to get that percussion and split your hand guard, So there's some downfalls to it, but if you plan on leaving the suppressor on there, running
dedicated
it
suppressed rifle,
that's
absolutely.
the way to go.
And
for
they're
sure.
definitely less snag, a little less bulky. They do look very streamlined. I like the looks of them a lot. If you're going to be swapping your suppressor around a lot, maybe not the perfect setup, but I agree. They look good, very functional. I like them that way too. Correct me here, but usually when someone starts talking to me about an AR build, I'll usually start, and how I've always started thinking about and talking about my builds has been like, I'll center it around the barrel first. What caliber am I going to go with?
Exactly.
What am I going to use this gun for mainly? That's the thing about an AR. It's so functional, so versatile. You can use everything from self-defense to coyote calling to, multiple different applications. So it is hard to say, I'm only going to use this gun for this, because, there are other things. You may build it for this, but end up using it for multiple things. But I'll, center it around the barrel first. What caliber am I going to run? What length am I going to run this rifle suppressed mainly? If so, then I'm probably going to use a little shorter barrel, That's a whole nother ball game and a whole nother podcast. Barrel length, on calibers, especially running suppressed. What's the optimal barrel length? So I know that can be overwhelming. However, people come in the shop. That's what we're there for, right?
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah, and just if you're running through, real quick on the calibers, 300 blackout's going to be real good for your close range night hunting. If you want to shoot, if you're shooting pigs less than 100 yards, it's a great caliber. But anything past 100 yards, you want to you don't really want to do. I mean, you could shoot some good supersonic Barnes ammunition or something like that and get it out to 200 yards. But realistically, especially night hunting and suppressed and subsonic, 100 yards is your max range on 300 blackout. Now, it's a really good home defense gun because it's not going to go through a bunch of walls and stuff because it's a really fat, slow round. So it's a very good use for home defense and obviously extremely quiet, suppressed. I mean, that's what it was built around.
Yeah.
So it's super popular for that. If a guy's just wanting to have a fun gun to shoot at the range, it's stupid quiet, then 300 blackout all the way. It's a 30 caliber bullet on 223 casing, so not any recoil at all whatsoever, and you get the 30 caliber knockdown. So great for home defense, great for plinking, having fun around the house.
I think 300 blackout suppressed. 300 blackout subs suppressed has been the number one suppressor seller at the shop.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah. It's lots of guns are impressive suppressed. Hard to beat a 300 blackout suppressed. And you made a good point, and that's something people don't think about all the time. Pick my AR up, for home defense. Picking that, and I'm not saying you can't do it, but picking that 5.56 up, 16-inch, most popular 16-inch 5.56 up. And thinking you're going to, go resolve a problem in the house with that. Not saying, again, it can't work, but it's pretty dangerous. You're going to go through not only, if you have to use it, somebody, but maybe multiple walls in the house. And if there's other people in your home with you, that's not a good situation.
Oh, yeah.
It's exactly what you were saying about 300 blackout. It was meant to not over-penetrate, which may not make it the perfect hunting caliber in some situations. But home defense, very, very good.
Well, I mean, it's still a good round.
Absolutely.
My son, at 6 years old, killed 2 deer with one shot at 75 yards with subsonic 300 blackout, the Hornady Sub X ammunition.
Great ammo.
2 deer with one shot, killed both of them. Now, one of them we did have to finish off, but still, he was able to kill both of them with one shot. So it's still a good hunting round. But, again, that 100-yard mark is really where you're stuck at, especially subsonic.
Yeah.
So 5.56, on the other hand, back to that, it's probably the most versatile caliber because you can buy super cheap plinking rounds.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want to do. There's so many different hunting rounds out there for it. If you're deer hunting, you can run the Federal Fusions, which are 62-grain soft points, and they'll do some serious damage on deer. You like the Super Performance VMAXs for coyote hunting.
I mainly run that out of a bolt gun. I probably wouldn't run it out of a gas gun all the time.
Well,
especially,
it'd be pretty gassy.
Yeah, especially suppressed. Yeah. Now, with my bolt gun, love it. Probably a little too hot in the AR.
Yeah, that's why I like the Fusion, the MSR. You know what I mean? It's made for
the
gas
Varmint
guns.
Express. If you were only coyote calling, would be a good middle of the road there. Yeah.
Yeah, Varmint Express would be very good. So again, there's so much versatility to the 5.56, and it's never gonna go away. It's a NATO cartridge. It will always be around. So that's something that's kind of tried and true. And realistically, you could run it at a 10.5-inch barrel and shoot 300 yards, no problem. Obviously, if you want to get more distance than that, 14.5 is probably the most ideal length for 5.56.
Especially if you're going to suppress it at all.
Yeah. If you're going to suppress it, I'm running 11.5-inch because that makes, with my suppressor on and everything, that makes it almost a 16-inch gun.
Yeah.
So I really like that a lot, but my CZ Bren is 14.5-inch, and it is the killer.
That's exactly what I was going to say. You just nailed it. That's exactly what I'm going to say. If you're coming in and building your first AR, and it's your only AR in only gun in 223 5.56, me personally, I wouldn't recommend a shorty off the bat.
Not that short.
No. 14.5 would probably be the shortest I would go because you still want to have that gun in your closet you can pick up to have that velocity, have that downrange. 14.5, 16. If you don't own one at all, I'd probably recommend a 16.
Yeah.
Unless you're going to run it suppressed all the time. 14.5 is nice.
Well,
Either way.
If you go 16, then you stay away from all the ATF, rigmarole crap. Yes, arm braces are legal again, or pistol braces,
For now.
Now, you know what I mean? 2 weeks later, the ATF could come in your house, shoot your dog. Who knows? You know what I mean? But for now, pistol braces are back. They are legal. And so, you can run a 14.5-inch, no problem with a pistol brace, and be fully legal. But again, there's certain limitations. You can't run a foregrip, and stuff like that. versus if you do run a 16-inch, there's no limitations there other than full auto. Obviously, you can't run full auto. But 16s, man, I mean, we built 10,000 of them because they don't want to worry about that law changes back and forth, that the whole deal with the ATF. So 16 inches are probably our most popular builds. I do like 14.5 inch, probably the most ideal length for a suppressed 5.56.
I think the ballistically what you lose between 16 to 14.5 is absolutely minimal. It's cutting hairs at that point. It is some, but it's minimal. A lot of times you can make that up in ammo selection.
Yep.
And then that 1.5 doesn't sound like a lot, but it isn't. It's a lot when you screw on a 5-inch suppressor. You can definitely notice the difference.
Oh, yeah.
It is handier, shorter, easier to manipulate.
No doubt.
Yeah. 1.5 is a lot. Okay.
Yeah.
But absolutely. But so, I mean, I guess the point I'm trying to convey to people is, yes, it's a lot to get into, but we can help you through that process, and we can make it less overwhelming. We can sit down with you, build a gun out right there at the counter in 15 minutes. Exactly how do you want. And if you're not sure about some things, we can either recommend or show you some options or kind of guide you what we would recommend to do,
Well, and so the biggest benefit to coming and building it with us is that when you leave, it's going to be exactly how you want it. And we're going to save you money in the process. Yeah. So if you went and bought a $650, well, actually, they're more like $700 now for your standard Ruger or Smith & Wesson off the shelf, you're gonna want to come to me and spend another $400 to make it how you want it.
Yep.
Because it's a lot of your basic builds that are that $650, $700 range are going to come with plastic hand guards, no attachments, the big A2 front sight post that's going to be in your way where you can't run an optic without it being in your way. A bunch of stuff you're just not going to like. Okay, standard mil-spec trigger is going to be 8.5 to 12 pounds depending on what it is. It's just in 2-stage.
Yep.
So when you come to us and you want to do a build, we're going to give you a free float handrail 100% every time. We're not going to let you pick anything else because there's no reason to. So you're going to have a free float handrail with plenty of M-lock space on it, and be able to attach anything you want to attach to it. We can give you a lower parts kit minus fire control group because 90% of the time that's the first upgrade you want to do is a custom trigger that's going to get you so much more accuracy.
Biggest game changer.
Yes, that's the number one upgrade we recommend when you do our builds.
I was going to hit on that later, but we can do it now. I agree. People come in, I'm telling you, save your money and do it. It's the number one, and you just nailed it, but upgrade on AR build. Everybody gets into cosmetics. That trigger will not only make you enjoy that gun more, but that upgraded trigger will help your inaccuracy just tenfold. I mean, how many times have we seen it? I mean, people don't think much about it that haven't ever run an upgraded CMC or Geisley or AR Gold or whatever trigger it is. Bunch of them out there. How many times have we dropped one in for somebody and then all of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, that's like my bolt gun now, or something like that. It just game changer.
Well, going to, unless you have a military background, 2-stage is not for everybody. I mean, it's just
8.5 pounds, 10.
It's a lot.
10 pounds, Self-defense, 50 yards in end range, you may not ever tell the difference. Sitting down shooting a kite, well, my best friend Johnny, shout out to Jonathan Halbert, good customer there, but ask him about that. He ran a mil-spec 2-stage in his gun for a while and, shot it fairly well. When we finally talked him into CMC, man, that's all. He's told everybody about it. Everybody. The first thing he's like, you need a trigger like that. I mean, when we dropped it in, he literally texted me that day. I don't know why I didn't do this years ago. I'm like, I know it's a game changer. So big.
Like I said, when you do our builds, that's at the standard 750 or 880, whatever it is, whichever build you decide to go with. That's going to give you the basic mil-spec trigger, but I'm telling you, it's worth the extra money. Yep. And again, we're going to save you money because a lower parts kit with fire control group is like $80 versus one without a fire control group is $50.
Yep.
So you're saving $30 that you can put toward your trigger, and like the CMCs, they're $189. You know what I mean?
In my
very
opinion,
affordable. Drop in.
Yep.
They have anti-rotation pins. Where they're not going to fall out on you or anything like that.
Made in USA.
Made
right
in USA.
Texas.
You can get a 2.5 pound or 3.5 pound single stage, very crisp, flat or curved trigger. I prefer the flat triggers.
I do too.
But you can get them for very reasonably priced, And then we've ran Elfman Tactical. Elfman Tactical has been a good brand.
Don't get me wrong, Geisley makes good triggers.
I think
AR Gold makes good triggers.
Yeah.
Although I could set you down blindfolded and stick an AR Gold, a Geisley, and a CMC back to back to back in your hand, I don't know that you can tell the difference, honestly.
Well, I don't think there's a better two-stage trigger than Geisley.
Yes.
Okay,
I agree.
if you are a two-stage trigger guy and you want two-stage, Geisley's the way to go.
Yep.
There's nothing better than them on the two-stage game. I really like them. I think they're very. I ran them for years, you know. But in a single stage, I think for sure CMC or Elfman Tactical is our two favorite, and they're very reasonably priced. Like I said, they're $189, half the price of most of your Geisleys and stuff like that.
Yep.
And they're just so much better. Drop in one piece system. You don't have to worry about it. You know, like what makes the Elfman Tactical so popular is that where the roll pin sits or your trigger pin sits, it's on mini roller bearings. So I mean, it's just the smoothest thing on the market. Now we have had a few hiccups with some of those. They're a little finicky to get put in and set right.
Talking about the Elfman.
The Elfmans, but you know, versus the CMCs are pretty much foolproof, man. The only thing we've ever had issues out of them is tightening the screws up, breaking a few screws, but CMC replaces them instantly, and you know, it's just one of those deals you got to pay attention when you're installing them.
Yeah.
But pretty much fail-proof as far as CMC.
I'm a big fan of the CMC. I know when I came to the shop, you know, you knew about them obviously, but I got you kind of on board CMC, and I think you're pretty warm on them now. But not to say if someone comes in and has a trigger they want in mind, we can get it for them. We can put it in, and there are a lot of other good triggers on the market. Kind of back to the Strike Industries thing. I think value for money and the performance you get out of it, CMC kind of fits that Strike, you know.
Yeah.
Point there.
Again, we're trying to stick to budget style builds.
Yep.
Obviously, there's all kinds of stuff
if
out
money
there.
was no object, AR Gold probably makes one of the best triggers on the market. My dad's got one in an AR. It is absolutely, and it's a fully adjustable externally. It's nice. It's dang near $400.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? That's insane. That's I would venture to say that's more expensive than a lot of optics people are running on their rifles. So you know, it's all relative here.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that's just you know, that's the reality of it. You know, we're talking about things that we carry in the shop because 90% of the stuff we do is try to stick to a certain budget, you know, for people. And you know, we're not in the business to you know, make a killing. We just want to give people products they want for a reasonable price and good quality. Everything we carry in the shop, like we've said this before on several podcasts now, what we carry in the shop is what we personally use and we personally know works.
Well, and I mean, just why spend $400 for a trigger when a $180 trigger is more than adequate?
Yep.
You know what I mean? I mean, I just can't justify it. Even if I had the money, you know, to spend, it'd be hard to talk me into that, you know?
Yep.
Especially set up in a rifle, feeling them side by side. Take that $200 and put it on something else in that gun, you know? Not talking people out of certain triggers, but, you know, that's kind of the same thing with the Strike stuff, you know? Kind of relative, but so kind of like we were saying, kind of start around the barrel, the caliber, and kind of build out from there. That's probably usually a pretty good. That's what we are probably going to do. You know, we may not say it to you that way when you come in, but that's what we're thinking in our heads. You know, handguards, plethora of handguards out there. I mean, million handguards. My favorite right now is probably the Arrow R1. Or S1. Now, I hate saying that because they're really hard to get right now. So everybody likes them. But they're super lightweight, feel good, slim. The R1 has full rail on top with M-lock everywhere. Built-in, you know, QD sling. Same with the S1, even slimmer and lighter. But with that said, and this is almost hard for me to say, I have really liked the Anderson handrails we've used recently. They have redesigned their handrails completely. They're pretty light for what they are. Not as quite as slim, but I think they're pretty quality, decent handrails, especially for the price. I mean, what's the price point we're talking on that handrail?
Yeah, 15-inch handrail through Anderson, $79.
Yeah, so you're looking at
versus $179 through Arrow.
Well,
you know
that
R1
I just bought, we were right at $200, tax and all out the door. Yeah, so that's a big difference.
It's a huge difference.
Yeah,
and that's what you got to think about when you're doing builds is where your budget is. You know what I mean? Because here's the reality of it. Just like I said to begin with, they're made out of 7075 T6 aluminum.
Yeah,
same exact material, same exact quality. The only difference you're paying for is looks and weight.
And a name sometimes.
Yeah.
I think that's what gets caught up on. uppers.
Yeah.
I think that's what gets caught up in uppers and lowers.
Yeah.
And that's something I knew but didn't think as much about and put as much thought into until I was around you more, and you told this is literally from your mouth. Hey man, an upper or lower, it's a shell. What you put in it matters a lot more than what's actually on the outside of it, and that's true. That's very true. Not to say there aren't some bad upper and lowers built out there that are not very close to tolerance specs. We're not going to carry them and have them anyways.
No.
But man, Arrow upper and lowers, pretty dang nice. I don't know though that there's a whole lot of difference between that and an Anderson. I'm gonna be honest with you, it's very close.
There's zero difference between their X15 model and Anderson's AM15 model. Okay. Now, if you go to the Arrow M4E1 model, they're enhanced. It is a billet cut design, and instead of roll pins, they use little screws to go. So if you're doing an at-home build, don't want us to build it. M4E1's very simple, very easy to make everything extremely easy to put together. You're not driving in roll pins, dinging up your lower or your upper or anything like that. It takes screws, you screw them in there, you're done.
Yeah.
Speaking of the bolt catch on the lower, and then your forward assist on the upper. So no roll pins there. And the M4E1 does come with a flared magwell and a built-in trigger guard. So that's pretty nice, too. Yep. But, again, those things are like $110 now. I mean, they've gone up so much. I mean, they probably are more of an elite build. And I have one in the enhanced, and I really like it. There's a lot of cool features, but it is a little heavier.
It is a little heavier.
You know what I mean? Because it is billet cut, a little thicker design, so it is a little heavier. It's all in what you want. Again, we could talk about this all day long as far as different styles and stuff, but at the end of the day, an upper and a lower and even a handrail is all built to the same exact specs with the same material if it's mil spec.
Right.
Okay, there are commercial ones. We're not even going to get into that.
What would you think, though, if someone comes in and says, okay, well, why would I ever pay the extra money for a Geisley or a Noveski or whatever, up or lower? Why are guys spending that money?
Well, mainly name, you know what I mean? Because here's the reality. So like BCM, we get asked, hey, can you get BCM all the time, you know? And listen, I've been around BCM, and if you plan on doing absolutely nothing to that firearm, then BCM is a great gun. But if you try to do anything, any customization to that whatsoever, BCM literally makes it to where you can't. They use Loctite on places they shouldn't be using Loctite. They use, all kinds of stuff. I mean, I literally broke an entire upper trying to get the barrel nut off of a BCM AR. And that's just nonsense.
Insane,
you should be using anti-seize on the barrel nut because it's only going to tighten as you shoot it. Okay, you shouldn't be using any kind of lock set or anything like that. Literally cracked an entire upper trying to get it off. That's insane.
Yeah.
The poundage for that, specs, is 33 to 80 foot-pounds to time a barrel nut on an AR. Okay, that's specs. It was way more than 80 pounds because I'm telling you, I've taken 10,000 of them off. Okay,
it wasn't
so.
That.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to bash on BCM.
No.
Again, if you're wanting to buy a gun that's bulletproof and you're never going to do anything to it and you just want it stock, great product.
Right.
But you're never going to be able to do anything to them because your 14.5-inch stuff, just like on the Geisley, it's going to come pin and welded. And, you hope you like Surefire because that's the only way Geisley comes is with a Surefire suppressor on it.
Yeah.
Muzzle brake attachment.
Yep.
But the biggest thing is those are great products if you plan on just buying something that's high-end that you're going to leave and not do nothing to.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Geisley's probably top of the line. Them and Faxon, they're probably unbeatable, in my opinion, other than Knight's Armament maybe. But the thing about Knight's Armament, they're only popular because they have military contracts, and everybody thinks they're the best and they're military grade.
Yeah.
Well, I'm telling you from 11 years' experience, military grade shit.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just being honest with you. If it says military grade, count me out.
Yeah.
I don't want it. Not saying Knight's Armament is bad products. They're actually really good products.
Yeah. Absolutely. But
I'm not a fan of military grade stuff because from my experience, it's all junk.
Mm-hmm.
The cheapest bidder gets a government contract. Simple as that.
I mean, when you're looking at a Geisley upper lower fitting to the handrail, or even Radian makes pretty high-end stuff, Geisley, any of those high-end builders that you're paying literally twice to 3 times the amount for upper lower handrail. I will say their tolerances are very close. When that handrail seats up, there is absolutely no wiggle. Their tolerances are very close. Everything's very, very, almost hand fitted, closer. Is it worth 3 times the price? I mean, I've never picked my AR up and thought, man, I wish my handrail was just a little bit closer to my upper.
Yeah.
Not one time.
Well, a lot of the thing people get worked up about is your wiggle room between your upper and lower. Where it seats up. Like Arrow does a good job. They have a screw you can tighten up. It has a little buffer nipple on it where you can tighten it up to the upper and take away all the wiggle, any slack, anything. Arrow does a really good job with that. Some of your cheaper companies don't have that. But, I mean, we've built a ton of Andersons now, too, and it's very minimal. It's not going to affect the functionality of it. It's not going to affect any of that, So
for your everyday
use,
guy,
here's the reality. I know a lot of these guys think this, but you're not going to war tomorrow, okay?
With that being said, I believe every red-blooded, patriotic, legal, law-abiding citizen in America should own one handgun and one AR.
I agree.
Yep.
I agree.
But that's just kind of preventative measures.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Hopefully we never go for that measure. You're exactly right. We're not Tier 1 operators here.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. And I'll be honest with you, probably a lot of Tier 1 operator guys, some of them probably, hopefully one of them will listen to this. I don't know. They may throw something at the camera and say this, but probably I'm going to tell you right now, some of those guys probably not spending that much money on their service weapon that they're using every day to save their life. They're probably not buying that either. You know what I mean? Yeah. And they put them through the absolute ringer. So,
yeah. I mean, most of those guys are running the Knights armament, but it's just the reality of it. I mean, some of them even do get issued scars and stuff like that, So, but that's a whole nother aspect.
Oh, yeah.
As far as piston stuff, but
so someone comes in, they don't want to fool with building a custom AR. You touched on this a minute ago, but we'll talk about it a little bit more. And they just want to build a complete rifle, and I've had buddies do the same. Like, well, I think it's just too much. Kind of overwhelming, or I don't want to spend that much right now. How many times have you seen somebody buy a complete rifle, and then within next year or so end up upgrading this and upgrading that and upgrading this and changing out that? And, well, I mean, I just did it at the shop. I had a complete rifle I had for years that I'd run heavy. Great gun, very reliable, no problem at all. It was just heavy for what it was. We literally pretty much redid that entire gun. I mean, I swapped out the handrail, the furniture, the optic, the mounts, literally just about everything except the upper, lower, and the barrel, and shaved off. I weighed it before and after. Shaved off 2.4 pounds off that gun. Okay, if I'd have just done that from the beginning,
you save some money.
Save some money, exactly. It may be a few $100s up front more, but you're getting exactly what you want, and you're never gonna have to change that gun again.
Yeah, well, here's the reality of it is you can buy a Ruger AR-556.
That are great guns.
Or the Smith & Wesson M&P 15, especially the new Sport or Sport 2 now. Yeah. Actually, I think they had just released a Sport 3. And all those are great guns. They're going to function. They're not going to have any issues. You're going to be extremely happy with it other than the weight and your handrails, really the main thing. Mm-hmm. And if they have that A2 front sight post, you're obviously not going to be happy with that. I have literally a whole bin full of those things that I've taken off for people and got rid of.
That I can't even give away.
Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't even know why anybody in the industry even makes them with that anymore, to be honest with you, other than your guys that just want to look like a military, which again, mil-spec, not a fan. Mm-hmm. But that's if you just want to do that, that's perfectly fine. But then I guarantee you, if you actually are going to use
that gun much at all,
and within a year, you're going to come to me and want a free float handrail. Yep. You're going to want to get rid of your A2 front sight post. You're going to want to get rid of that mil-spec trigger. All the things that we could have done, and then if you paid $650 or $700 for that, you just spent another $400. So now you're at $1,000 when I could have built you one out the door for $800.
Right. And I'll add to that, if you don't want to be basic and you want to have a pretty sweet looking gun, when we're building that gun is a perfect time to go ahead and cerakote it. Yep. Whether that's a flat one solid color, multiple solid colors, or a pattern of any kind. when we got that, before we put that gun together, that's a perfect time to go ahead and paint that upper, lower, handguard, barrel, whatever you want. So,
Well, and we have several different options when it comes to that. You know, like we started doing something kind of simple and quick for people where we carry different color stocks. You know, like we got the flat dark earth, the OD green, the gray, and the black, all by Magpul and matching grips, and then we can just be like, hey, I can paint your handrail the same color to match, and then it just breaks it up a little bit, and that's super cheap. An extra $80 to paint your handrail to match your stock and your grip, which we're not charging any extra just because you change the color for the stock or grip.
No.
The only thing you're gonna do is pay $80 upgrade for me to paint your handguard to match.
Yep.
And so
which does break it up a lot.
It breaks it up a lot, makes it look really good. Or obviously you have the option to do the full color. You know what I mean? We could paint your upper, lower, and handrail for $250, solid color. Any additional color is $50. So if you want to do a stencil job, that's a 3-color. You're looking at $350. You know what I mean? So
and it's honestly $250 to have your whole AR painted. Pretty dang reasonable, man.
It's very reasonable. A lot of people just don't understand what all it takes to do that. You know, they think I'm just in there with a rattle can, you know, spraying away and not sandblasting or doing anything. You know, we sandblast the anodizing completely off, which is really not something people do in the industry of cerakote. And a lot of people just scuff up the anodizing, and it seems to work. But my theory is my top coat of cerakotes only as good as what's underneath it.
Oh, yeah.
So if something's wrong with the anodizing or some kind of issue with it, then it's going to affect my cerakote, and I'm not taking a chance.
And there is a vast difference in anodizing and coatings from company to company, and even model to model in the same brand out there right now.
Yeah, anodizing is so just inconsistent.
Yeah.
As far as everything, it's very hard to you know, the process of anodizing is just, you can't do it the same every time. It's just like scars when they come over, you know what I mean? Yeah. None of them match because I can't get the anodizing the same, you know, so.
Yeah.
But, you know, again, we sandblast down to the raw materials and then cerakote, so it's going to give you a lot better adherence. Our cerakote's going to last longer and everything else. Multiple color cerakote jobs, like we were talking about, you know, you can get pretty expensive. You know, I've done upwards of $450 for cerakote jobs, but you're talking about multiple layers, multiple stencils, and you're baking in between each one and having to flash and doing everything. There's a lot to that stuff, and really $50 for each additional color probably ain't worth the amount of time we spend stenciling and baking. But
it probably isn't. But
we try to keep everything reasonable for everybody, and like I said before, I'm not in this business to make a ton of money. I'm just want to satisfy my customers' needs and be able to get something that people in this area can realistically afford.
Well, and I mean, to give some people some context too, you know, if we're painting just for instance, 3 ARs, if we got 3 ARs of cerakote and they're all a solid color, we can get all of them done in one day.
Yeah.
If we're painting 3 ARs and they're all a 3-color stencil job, that's a day apiece. Yeah. So just from reference there.
Yeah. Unless we're doing 3 of the same. You know, we could probably it's going to be a 12-hour day.
Yeah,
but we could still knock out probably 3 of the same.
Right.
But
that rarely happens. We have a lot of one-offs, which is great because we have a lot of unique rifles out there and a lot of custom jobs. That's what but it requires more man hours and time. Yeah.
It definitely does, and that's kind of the thing we ran into with the hydro dipping too. Just to touch on that real quick, you know, there's people that are cheaper than us out there, but we do so many different patterns that if this guy wants this pattern and this guy wants a different pattern and this guy wants a different pattern, then I'm ordering paint and film for that one guy that I may not use again, so it's costing me a lot more money versus like somebody like Rob Roberts that has 10 films you can choose from, only 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, he can do stuff cheaper than me because he's only dipping 10 films versus
and they're waiting to get batches of that same pattern, and they're doing them all at the same time. Yep. Which is smart and efficient, but that's just not what we're set up to do.
Exactly. I mean, and we may eventually get to that point, but I don't want to just offer 10 films or 10 designs. I want to be able to do whatever you want.
I mean, not that we sometimes don't have to, but we don't want to have to tell people, no, we can't do that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, a little off topic there, but that's fine. Let's cover it there. Someone comes in, they want to say, Chase, I don't own an AR. I don't own an AR right now. I want you to build me a 5.56. What are you building them? They don't know, and they're just going to use it for general purpose, hunting to self-defense. They have to.
I'm probably going to recommend an Anderson build. Anderson Manufacturing. They've been a great company. They're considered a low end, but again, they're mil spec, made of 70-75 T6 aluminum, just like everybody else. And they're, again, as long as you have the shell of the upper and lower, we're going to put Strike Industries parts in them. It's going to be very good quality. Ballistic barrel, Aero Precision. We do still use Aero Precision BCGs because they're full auto rated, staked, whole 9 yards. Everything's very high quality in those, and I'd like to run the nitride version instead of phosphate because it's a little slicker finish. Now I did order a few of the Andersons in that we're going to try and just run it in my personal gun. I'm going to slide in my personal gun and run it and see how it does because they're about half the price of an Aero Precision BCG. So I'm going to test those out. And
anybody in the AR build right now knows BCGs are kind of they're hard to get right
now.
Well, and they're hard to get. They're a lot of them out of stock, especially popular calibers, especially 6 arc. Good luck, But they're hard to get right now.
Yep. So we're gonna try out a few things. The CMC makes a bolt carrier group that we're gonna try out because you can't actually get that in 6 arc right now. So we're gonna try a few things out and try to. I hate to say this, but we're trying to kind of move away from Aero Precision because they've had so many issues recently. And it's really no fault of their own. They make really high-quality products, but they had just spent millions of dollars to move factories in Washington State, and then Washington State just passed a state AR ban.
Well, and when we say issues, we're not talking product issues. We're talking about corporate company
issues, everything else. And so it's been really hard to get their parts. It seems like they're having trouble even making parts at this point because I don't know if the state's giving them so many issues or what's going on. But they're struggling right now, it seems to me. And so we're trying to get something that's more readily available, so that's why we're trying different options. We've been building Aero Precision ARs for almost 10 years now, and I love their products, and they're great quality products. Again, availability and their prices are going up so high that they're not really considered a budget build anymore.
Right.
So we're trying to stick to something that's a budget build. That's why we're kind of transferring to the Anderson stuff because it seems to be the same quality so far. We built a bunch of them now and not had any issues, and everybody's really liking them. Again, we're running Aero, BCGs, ballistic barrels, and Strike Industries parts inside of them. So really, is it an Anderson? No, it's just a shell.
Right.
But that's what I would do, and I'd probably either do – I want to say 14 and a half, but more than likely going to end up doing 16 just to stay away from all the ATF regulations and stuff like that.
Okay.
Not having to run a pistol brace, all that stuff. So I'd probably do a 16-inch Anderson build with Strike Industries parts, Ballistic Advantage BC or barrel, Aero BCG, and a 15-inch free float handguard. I like to get it out there right to the muzzle brake on the 16-inch stuff, and it just works really well. It's very versatile. You got plenty of room to add lights, lasers, grips, whatever you want to add. And it's just something we can build for $750. Now again, I would highly recommend dropping a CMC in there for $189. But it's all about preference and what you want to do. So.
And that would just take the overall price of the build how much more up?
It'd be about $150.
Yeah, more.
Yep,
so it's saving about $30 taking the trigger group out. Yep. So you're looking at $900.
Yep.
Very
with
nice.
The CMC trigger.
With the CMC trigger, which I would.
Very reasonable. Reasonably priced. Like I said, your basic stuff, I mean, yes, we haven't talked about this. You can get a Bear Creek or a PSA for $500.
Ooh.
But I'm telling you, from experience, I'm not trying to bash low-end products or anything like that. But with us being a full-service custom gun shop and a gunsmith, I have worked on so many PSAs and Bear Creeks from the factory that do not run out of the box.
Yep.
It's not even funny.
Well, here's the reality of it. And I mean, again, we could say stuff funny here. This is just the reality of it. Like you just said, you see them every day. You work on them every day. PSA, Bear Creek, you can lump several companies in that group. Are they serviceable for just your average Joe most of the time? Yeah, there's some reliability issues. They're not a 1 MOA gun. Now, are there some Bear Creeks out there that maybe shoot 1 MOA at 100 yards? There's probably guys listening to me right now that say, oh, mine does. I believe you. I'm not saying it doesn't. It's just not common.
Well, it comes down to quality control. Quality control issues between both companies, and there's obviously plenty of other companies out there having the same issues. We're just talking about these two because they're probably the most popular budget-friendly guns.
Yep.
But here's the deal, you know what I mean? You have, like from my experience, Bear Creek, you're about 50-50 shot.
Yep.
Whether you're going to have one that runs good or don't run good.
Yep.
And for
And they're gonna
$250
be
bucks
heavier.
for an entire upper, it might be worth risking for
Right.
people. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, even if you got to buy two to get one good one, you're still safer.
Especially
You know
if it's
what I mean?
a caliber you're not for sure about how long you're going to run it for.
Exactly.
If you say, hey,
I want to try a 6
Yeah.
millimeter arc
And
for
I don't
$250
know.
bucks.
yeah,
Side charging handle, you know what I mean?
Yep.
That's pretty nice when you're running a thermal.
Mm-hmm.
And they're one of the only companies that have side charging handles on the Bear Creek. So, I mean, like I said, a situation like that, I'm not against it, but just be aware that you have a 50-50 shot whether
Right.
it's going to be a good gun or not.
And we're probably not going to recommend a building one.
I'm not
Just
going
not yet.
to build one.
And they are
we are a Bear Creek dealer, and we're
Yeah.
a PSA dealer, and I have got them for people, but I just make people aware
Yeah,
that this is a chance you're
absolutely.
taking. You know
Hey,
what I mean?
and we'll be the first one to tell you right now that little Bear Creek 22 mag AR they're building right now.
That's been a good one.
Well, it's been a good one. They're about the only one doing it right now that's in a proprietary size, not a large, and they're making it 17 and 22 mag. We have hardly had any problems at all out of them at all. Only problem we even had was a magazine issue, and people seem to like them. They seem to shoot fairly well, very reasonably priced. I think they're a pretty decent gun for what you're getting there. You just, like you said, you just need to be aware of what you're getting.
Exactly.
And we're probably not going to build you a rifle centered around those parts, just because well, one, we can't cost effectively do that anyways. They're so cheap already. Two, we're gonna put stuff in there that we would run all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're not trying to be brand snobs
No.
or anything like that, but we're just telling you from our experience the issues we've had and haven't had with certain products. So
Yeah.
but I mean, PSAs, like I said, you're about the same 50-50 chance whether you get a good one or a bad one. They do make some pretty good products. Their higher end series seems to be pretty well built pretty well, but
You're getting into the price range there where you can get
and
very, very good complete rifle or a complete rifle build for about the same price.
Exactly.
In the same parts we were talking about.
Exactly.
And while we're on the topic, if someone just wants to buy a complete rifle, even though they've listened to this whole podcast up to this point, I would recommend the Ruger NPR. I think for the money, I think it's one of the best right out of the box, serviceable, not a lot. I would probably change the trigger out. That's about it, really.
Yeah.
Pretty nice rifle for what the money you're getting in. They're very reasonably priced. They have went up in price, just like everything else, but that Ruger NPR, the 16-inch, very good rifle. Now, that's not the basic standard Ruger. That's the NPR.
Yeah. It's not the AR-556.
Right. It's the NPR. Big difference, but very good rifle right out of the box. Recommend one that you would recommend, you think?
I'm with you, man. I hate to. I really don't want to, say anything else because we're tried and true Ruger fans. To be honest with you, for a budget gun and anything, whether it's their bolt guns, ARs, the SFAR and AR-10, I'm telling you that an out of the box gun, it's really hard to beat Ruger.
Right.
They're still American.
You know what
made.
you're getting with Ruger.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if you do have any issues, man, they have sent us parts for free so many times, never hiccuped with it, never caused us any issues, and their warranty and customer service is just unparalleled.
Oh, yeah.
They're very good, very easy to deal with, and I really like their products. So.
Yeah. I'm with you on that build. If someone comes in, I'm going to ask them if they're going to run it suppressed or not. If they are, I'm going to build it 14 and a half all the time. If they're not, 16. Other than that, pretty much same thing. If they're wanting to spend a little more money, maybe recommend an arrow build, complete arrow, because I do really like that R1 and S1 handrail, especially if they're concerned with weight.
Yeah.
And maybe, the Hansen fluted series barrel, shave a little bit more weight. But I think an overlooked portion of weight on AR that people don't think about or look at most of the time is your optic choice. That was a big deal for me when I swapped optics and lighter weight mount and optic, huge difference.
Well, that's what a lot of people run into when they shop online is, they see like the Monstroms and, some of the cheaper stuff you find on Amazon. And are they functional? Yeah, they're functional, but my God, they weigh 5 pounds for an optic. And
well, and I had a
can't
Burris,
reasonably do that,
I had a Burris pepper mount on mine, which are very, very tried and true, very good AR riser style mounts, but they're just heavy and they're quick detach. I never took that optic off that gun one time, so why did I have that weight on there?
Exactly. The one-piece mounts can add a lot of weight. That's what Aero Precision with that new ultralight one-piece mount.
Game changer.
Oh, it doesn't. It literally weighs nothing. It's like holding air, and it's just so easy to install, so easy, and it's very durable.
Yep.
You can shave a lot of weight by doing some simple things like that. Just touching real quick on optics. Optics depend on the range you're going to go use. If it's a close range stuff, we really like the Holosun Ames. If you want something that has some kind of magnification, the Sig Tango MSRs are really hard to beat. They come with scope covers, illuminated horseshoe reticle, and a one-piece mount. All like their 1x6 starts at $389.99 or $369.99, somewhere in there. Hard to beat for all that in one package. Comes with the throw lever, whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
And they make that in a 1x8 and a 1x10 model. Sig has full lifetime warranty. Great product. So you can get something with 1 all the way to 10 zoom, all in a LPVO like that, and it's going to be very good. If not, then I would run the Ames and a red dot, because the Ames compared to EOTech for the price is just unparalleled.
Yeah.
But
now, I also would recommend too something you can use self-defense and hunting wise. I really like the Loophole, that Freedom 2-7.
Yeah.
Because you can run it almost like an LPVO on 2 power all the way down. Big, wide field of view. You got a little bit bigger objective, a little bit more light gathering than LPVO if you're going to use it maybe at dusk or night setting. But you can still pick it up on 2 power and run it as an LPVO close. Is it an LPVO? No, but you still can dial that down and still have a very wide, if you have any experience running a glass optic at all, you can throw that up real quick, and still kind of have both of both worlds. And they're pretty reasonable too, $275, $280.
$289, I think is what
Loophole
they are.
glass,
Yeah.
Loophole lifetime warranty. That's another option too, But so the world of ARs, big, deep hole, we literally just skimmed the top of it.
Yeah, we just skimmed the top and talked about stuff we do in the shop real quick. Obviously, we could talk about this for days and days, but we try to keep this one short and simple for you and just give you some information.
It's going to boil down to budget, application, 2 biggest factors.
Yep.
Yeah, and we can help you, whether that's me. Chase is the AR, guy in the shop. He's a gun guy in the shop, period. We all know about guns, but Chase is, if I don't know, I'm going to tell you. If you're asking me a specific thing, and I don't know, I'm gonna tell you, hey, let's ask Chase. But overall, we can guide you. Both of us can guide you to a very, very good setup with your budget in mind at the shop anytime. We can do it over the phone, or you can come in and talk to us. That's what I'd recommend. Come in. We've got multiple rifles on the wall, ranging from 16-inch all the way down to 10.5. Pick them up, see what you feel, see what you like.
That's a benefit for us, is we do have my guns that are on the wall for you to demo, shoot on the range, try out. And
we got the crown jewel of the shop up there now.
Oh gosh,
my 16-inch 7.62. Okay,
yeah,
it's up there.
It's up there.
Yeah,
but again, we have tons of accessories and stuff you can pick out yourself on the wall and do your builds. Another thing we've talked about doing eventually when we got time, and let us know in the comments or anything if you have any interest in it. But we talked about doing like a Build-A-Bear, but it would be build a gun for 3H. Where you come in, pay to spend an hour with me, and we build your AR together.
Yep. Take them in the back, build it together.
Take them in the back, and I'll help you build it together. You can be a part of the process, and you can pick out whatever parts you want off the wall, just like anything you want to build, and put it all on the table, and I'm going to help you build it and put it together. So let us know if you'd have any interest in that.
Yep.
Maybe doing something like that one day, and
there may be some gun shops or somebody working in a gun shop listening and say, hey, well, we build our ARs too. Sorry, didn't mean to step on anybody's toes, but I will say this. There's one thing that we do out there that I know no one else is doing, is you can actually go out there and shoot one and see what you suppressed, unsuppressed, any of our rifles, and see what you like. We can talk about this all day long. Put it in your hand and actually firing the weapon really makes some decisions sometimes. Yep. All right. Well, I appreciate everybody for tuning in today, and a lot of information there in a short period of time. So we're just kind of, like Chase said, we kind of skimmed the top there and just wanted to give you some basic topics and some basic direction of what we're doing at the shop as far as AR builds. And it's not that overwhelming of a topic. Come in, talk to us. We'll be glad to help you, glad to build your rifle, again, with your budget and application in mind always. So come out and see us at the shop, and we appreciate you guys listening. Anything else you want to say?
Make sure you subscribe.
Subscribe, yeah. We're those people now.
Yep.
Like and subscribe. Okay. Hey, and comment in the section if you have any questions. I check them all the time. I think it's cool when people interact.
Any topics you want us to cover,
Absolutely.
Or anything you want us to cover
Topics,
or talk about?
yes. Yep. Anything you guys have any ideas on our podcast to make this more interesting, because this is what we're doing it for. We enjoy it, but we're doing it for y'all to listen. So
that's right.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you, guys.